welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? We give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly.
And
Tyler Hudson. What was that?
Just changing it up on you to see if you could maintain your composure.
I failed miserably. I guess I gotta have to go back in the cave. That's my punishment.
Good evening, cave people. Bim, bim. We're back with another cave-filled episode of The Descent.
Part 2.
The Descent Part 2. Yeah. Hot Shots Part 2. Yes, we're back with another the final episode of The Descent, our Descent franchise here, brought to you by listener Reading Hicks, who is, like we said, been hyping us up on Twitter and wanted us to do this, and we've been having a blast, but it's already almost over. So Eliz, where can people reach out to us?
Yeah, you should send us an email to sequelrights@gmail.com or find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find the show, and we really appreciate it. Give us 1 star for every one of your friends you live in the cave.
You're like counting. Did I let you go? But I think I need more stars.
All of them. Okay.
Hey guys, once the pandemic's over, who wants to go caving?
Spelunking.
I got a real nice uncharted cave we can go in.
Oh boy, I love a good uncharted cave.
Oh man! All right, well, we're back with in 2009 with the one and only sequel to The Descent, and here we go.
Critics called The Descent the most terrifying monster movie since Alien. In 2009, it's time to return. To the dark.
We found one of the girls.
Near the old chapel mine.
Sarah, you have to help us find them.
Whoa, Sarah is back. I actually had to edit together 2 trailers there because
I mean, you had to get that bloodhound noise in there.
Yeah. The voiceover guy, he wasn't in all the trailers, and after he says that in the dark, we have to return to the dark, there's no other dialogue, so I was like, okay.
Well, surprisingly, this really is part 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place minutes after the last movie left off, even though it's been 4 years in real world.
Yeah, and even though there's multiple endings that maybe contradict what could have happened in the start of this film.
But in this version, she made it out and found a hillbilly.
Yes. And the actions of that hillbilly make no sense regarding when we get to the end of the film. But for now, he apparently gets the word out, or the word gets to the sheriff that someone's been found.
Yes.
And we see,
but they don't want to get the media's hopes up because the media is still looking at old boring cave or whatever.
Yeah. It, it's funny. The start of this movie, there's like this huge manhunt, and we had just seen Sarah out of the cave, and I'm thinking like, would there be this many people searching for these guys? Like, as soon as this happens, but they make a big deal about how like Juno is the senator's niece or something. So maybe she is like some sort of well-known person, and they would kind of have this manhunt like
Well, I think
after they've been gone for less than an hour.
If you put a plan in with like the Rangers or something and you don't come back and check in, like that's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
They would be looking. It would be a thing, and it's all these people, and yeah, I mean, it would be especially for that part of the country, there would be,
and they have to put in the fact that there was like a previous cave issue, which is maybe why the media's there, like on day one,
Right.
before.
It's just like, oh, this cave team fucked up before.
Yeah, they killed some girls in a cave. But yeah, we get introduced to a bunch of new characters.
Cavicers.
One of them, Cavicers. Terrible. One of them that I don't know if you were excited about seeing Prince Charming in there.
It was Prince Charming himself, Josh Dallas. And if you squint, about halfway through the movie, he's replaced by Zachary Levi. I don't know.
Nice.
MCU humor.
I tracked that reference.
Good.
Reference acknowledged.
That was funny. It took me a while to be like, I was thinking like, is that Josh Dallas? And it took me like, I don't know, 15 minutes into the movie of him to be like, yeah, that's definitely him. But yeah, we've got a new cave team and some police officers and
a police officer who I'm not quite sure as an actor knows what his face is doing all the time.
He's a famous actor from Happy Days.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
I don't know. We've been watching some Gary Marshall movies lately, and I don't know if Gary Marshall was too discerning on the direction he was giving to people.
The only thing with this sheriff character, based on our conversations from the last movie, I was like, no way that guy's going down in the cave. Either that or this movie is not going to be claustrophobic.
Yeah. Like my theory about if they had one fat person in the crew that none of this would have happened was not true. I was wrong because I did not know about the existence of the mine shaft elevator.
Yeah. Oh, obviously she came up through an elevator. Yeah. No, the sheriff gets word that Sarah has come out and she's in a totally different, part of the countryside than they're looking, because obviously they filed the wrong flight plan, or the one they thought was correct but turned out to be wrong. And he decides to like hide it from everyone, and he's gonna go deal with it himself. Don't let this get out.
Don't let the media know, because everybody knows that when there's small town policing, that everybody keeps their mouth shut and nobody talks to the media.
Yep. Yeah, we just watched The Wolf in Snow Hollow. We saw how well that went in that small town.
Despite the fact that this is like a secret mission for this small town sheriff force, they sure do get DNA results back very quickly.
Certainly.
And even though she fell into a giant pool of miscellaneous blood that she was underneath for quite a long time in the first movie, this time, as soon as she comes out, they test her clothes and they see that Juno's blood is a match, and therefore they have to be suspicious of her.
Yeah. At least the one police officer is like, I'm A positive. Everyone's A, like, half the country's A positive. Like, come on.
Like, there's blood.
Yeah.
Then the old timey white sheriff is like, I think the small white woman murdered her 5 friends.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the most. I mean, I guess. No, I guess I wouldn't think that she murdered them either. That doesn't really make sense. Why would you immediately
looking in a cave? Like, they've already established how dangerous it is. They're sending in a cave team to this explored cave. They're just like, oh, they probably got stuck down there. It's really dangerous. They might be dead. Everybody's afraid that they're going to be dead. Then she comes up alive in a completely different cave. They get the facts that they went exploring to an unexplored cave. She has complete amnesia, and he's just like, I smell foul play.
Yeah, I was like, okay, maybe later on in the movie it would make sense to be like, maybe she murdered that girl we found.
Yeah.
But yeah, not at this point in the hospital.
Not even that. So they come across one of the dead bodies that looks like it was just ripped apart by animals. And he's just like, she did this.
I knew I brought my gun for a reason. Yeah. Well, people are dumb. People are dumb in real life. They probably would think that. I mean,
yeah,
I feel like that's true to life. But
she's British. You can't trust her.
True. Oh.
Also unexplained. I mean, okay, so in the first movie, they explained it as that they're all on vacation, right? And so they're all visiting. But in this movie, it is still not explained why, like, over half the people that work in this small town are British.
Yeah. Even the guy like who's doing on the cave rescue team has an accent and everything. Like, don't ask questions. I'm in charge.
You know how people from the UK just love to move to the backwoods of South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? Seems like a great place to be.
I mean, of the Carolinas, it's the southeast. Yes. So they have the exquisite plan of these girls are still down there. We need to go find them. But I'm pretty sure that Sarah also murdered them. And even though that she is out of sorts and looks relatively fucked up, we need to bring her back down into this cave immediately.
It's a terrible plan. Okay, I was like wondering the whole movie, like how are they going to get her back? I mean, obviously they have to go back in the cave. Like,
You have to go back.
It's just like I don't know who would agree to this.
This would
Nobody.
never happen. I mean, she has amnesia, right? She doesn't remember what happened.
But
So
she's
that's even, like,
traumatized.
she cannot consent to doing this. And they're like,
Yeah.
you're doing it. You know,
Yeah.
like it's insane. Like she doesn't even know her daughter died 2 years ago.
Get
like
down
it's,
that hole.
it's so crazy. And okay, and first of all, they get the dog to like try and find out where she came out of. And the dog goes up to a barn, which is not where she came out of,
Yeah.
and smells something and gets scared and runs out. And they're like, well, this must be it. This must be where she came out of, despite the fact that we're going to break all these boards in order to get in here and take this elevator down. They don't like, how about you have the dog keep searching for like 2 or 3 options?
Yeah, I was really upset that they cut out the scene where the dog gave sworn testimony in front of a judge.
Yeah. I thought the dog was dead, honestly, and that
Yeah.
maybe one of those crawlers was going to come out in that moment.
Officer Flops, you have the stand. Bark once for yes, twice for no. Is this indeed where she emerged, where you smelled the scent?
He's like the dog in Big Mouth that talks like,
Yeah.
I'm just so alone. Yeah. Yeah, so it ends up being like they traced the her scent to the Chapel Mine or whatever. They go in there and they discuss about how the sheriff's going to bring his gun with him, even though our lead cave guy is like, if you shoot that down there, it's like shooting off a bunch of dynamite or something.
Could get artsed.
Yeah, exactly. We get this fun exchange with Josh Dallas's character that I thought was pretty funny.
Well, this whole shit still works?
Sonny, let me tell you, this old shit bucket will be working a long time after that MP3 of yours.
Whatever.
Which,
Does he even have an MP3 player, which they are referring to?
I know, it's
He
like,
just is like, you youngins in your MP3s.
yeah, and earlier, and like he should have been like, okay, well, I didn't see this, but early in the fucking movie, your tape player in your car wasn't working so well, was it, Grandpa? Remember, it was going like,
He's like, my Rio will last forever.
my cassette tapes will be. No, yeah. I love too that Josh Dallas has the same disease as some of the girls from the first movie, that as soon as he hears that it's a uncharted cave system, he's like, hot damn, let's get down there.
Yeah. That boy has cave fever.
Yeah. He's like, wait, you telling me there's an uncharted cave system? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, cool. And starts like really taking off the boards, like,
Let me
What
get out my
could go
shorts.
yeah, gotta get down there. We talked about how nice it was that the movie was all girls in the last one. And of course, as soon as you add a guy, you got to have the guy just be constantly,
Not just a guy,
doing
you have an
unwanted
old-timey
advances.
old man sheriff with a gun too. Like,
yeah, I just meant like Josh Dallas's character is like, trying to hit on the girl the entire time. And it's just like, it's grating. And there's a bunch of deleted scenes of the old man being a total bastard.
Really? They deleted some of that? Because I think they left it all in.
Oh, did they include the scene where he's at the hospital and the nurse is like, tells him where,
she
Sarah's
can't go
room-
back into that cave.
No, the nurse is like,
That's crazy. No, I'm just not allowing it from a medical perspective. She has to stay here for observation until she regains her memories and is at least rehydrated. Absolutely not, Sheriff. I can't allow you to do it.
yeah, he's like, hey, where can somebody get a cup of coffee around here? And she's like, oh, well, I can get you a cup of coffee. How do you like it? And he goes, hot and wet. and then Rios is like, even calls him out on it, and she's like, some places would call that harassment, and he's just like, whatever, we're in city town.
Ew.
But I was like, okay, that was totally worth cutting out. Yes.
It's not even clever. It's like
Okay, that's I know it's so sick. It's so sick. That was the only deleted scene worth mentioning. There were actually one other one.
I wish you had it, honestly. I could have gone my whole life without imagining that.
hot and wet.
It's so
Okay.
It's so stupid. Yeah, so they go down in the cave.
Yeah, they just go right the fuck down there again.
with the goal of getting into this cave system, even though everyone or the old man told them in like 6 different ways that it was a bad place. And also my grandpa went down there when he was a
grandpappy.
My grandpa went down there. He didn't come back. And he tells a story about how like they broke into the gates of hell and hell was pissed about it.
Right.
But they go down anyways, of course.
They go down.
And
they find that the monster's makeup artist went to a different cave.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I know we're kind of making fun of this movie, but I was surprised that it was a legitimate part 2. And I kind of liked it's dumb, like, okay, it's a dumb, they got to get her back down in the cave, okay?
No, and they have to, and they did it. And there's actually, you could respect them for just like not trying to like make it too overly complicated.
And I like, I like her performance in this. Like I was kind of, there was kind of some tension of like rooting for Shauna McDonald, for her character Sarah to, like, come on, like remember what happened, because she actually really has amnesia and she's not like, faking it. She goes all the way down there with barely saying anything, just kind of looking like unsure and like maybe she has a bad feeling, but she doesn't know. And you're like kind of rooting for her to remember before they get too far in where they can't turn back. But she doesn't remember fast enough, obviously. But I kind of liked that feeling in this first part of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't understand why. I think it would have been even better if they had said, okay, she's recovered for a week and like decides to go back because they think Juno may still be alive for whatever reason. And then it would have been way cooler if Juno had like gone full on cave person and like learned to live among them or something, like,
yeah.
I just feel like, I mean, I'm trying to think like what the writers were going through thinking of like how to do this, because I kind of feel like, maybe in their mind, like that girl was so messed up. Sarah was so messed up that 1, she may never recover. And 2, if she does recover, like, I don't think if she was in her right mind, she would ever go back down there. So they have to like invent some way for her to be coerced and kind of like, brought back down there when she barely even is comprehending what's happening.
Yeah. You know what I did like though, their first discovery of a body, which was pretty unexpected and funny because the body looks like it's breathing and they're like, that's not possible. There's no body heat. Like this can't be alive. And the freaking rat comes out of her mouth. That's hilarious.
It's hilarious, but it's also like rats give off heat. You dumb fuck. Like it would totally show up on the scope.
Yeah,
but maybe
true.
not hot enough, like, to make her body show up because it's like insulated.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But it wasn't that insulated because there was exposed gooey ribs.
No one's thinking about it that hard. It was a great gag.
It's a great rat gag.
Because I was kind of like, also like, what the fuck?
And then the rat was like, I can cook. And then he hopped on somebody's head and then they opened up a restaurant. And it was incredible.
The rats were controlling the crawlers all along.
Yeah.
The part where they find, this kind of happens throughout the movie where I really liked where they come across like different moments from the first film.
Yes.
Different kind of tableaus of what happened or remnants of the previous movie. which I thought was kind of fun because we had that a little bit in the last film when they're coming across like the remnants of like some really old mining expedition.
Yeah, the
sorry.
girl still hanging from the ceiling was particularly bad.
This is an amazing set piece in this movie. Like there's some real good shit happening, and one of them is this girl who's hanging from the ceiling that they have to use as like a floor is lava type obstacle course to hold on to and swing across. And this is one of those movies that it's like, you know, it'd be real gross if you got like some real gross like bodily fluids in your mouth from another person, and the movie pulls the gag off like 4 or 5 times. But all the actors are also doing the thing where their mouths are just open. They're just like, oh no, don't let the blood get in my mouth.
The fake blood was really gummy and like bright red in this too.
Gummy.
But yeah, I mean, the bodily fluid from the dead body. Oh god,
it was so gross.
This movie has
like
so many inserts of violence happening against prosthetic skin that it is kind of horrifying to watch. I feel like that this editor who directed the first one, who edited the first movie and directed this movie, like, dude loves his insert shots, and they're really effective, but they can be overwhelming.
What, when someone's getting their hand cut off in the worst possible way?
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was funny.
Also, like, I'm not sure, like, I don't remember as much in the first one. Like, the crawlers, every single time they jump up on somebody, bite them on the side of their neck, and then like fall off, and like that's always like the thing that they do so that the blood can come like spraying out. But like, I don't know if like, well, I guess it makes sense to do it that way, like from a hunter perspective. But yeah, it was like, wouldn't they just bite you wherever they could? Would they always go straight for, your neck?
I mean, the crawlers at this point look like that they're a bunch of orc extras from the Lord of the Rings that just got abandoned in a cave somewhere.
Yeah, they definitely became more orky and less Gollum-y.
Yes.
They kind of like,
Yeah, this was
became
filmed
less otherworldly.
It was filmed in New Zealand with real crawlers.
Yeah.
Just leftover extras. That'd be so fucked up. I feel like this movie does a good job setting up various horrifying situations, much like the first film. I enjoyed how quickly things like devolved into total chaos once they find that first body, and it's just like everyone's like, Sarah runs off somewhere, and like everyone's breaking up and running all over the place, and there's a cave in.
A fun thing that this movie will do is they will spend 10 minutes watching you two characters like go through hell to survive whatever scenario that they're in, and then kill them immediately after that. Like, it was just like, like that was their 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that story's over.
It's like, oh wow, he just sacrificed himself for her, and she's dead.
Yeah, because she wasn't paying attention. I don't know. She probably could have survived that situation, but maybe not. Maybe just be clear of your
Josh
surroundings.
Dallas had to fall into a bottomless pit and die of starvation, and then that chick immediately died as soon as she reached the other side.
Yeah.
Which is pretty dope. I mean, I will say that this movie, I can tell that somebody somewhere, when like that alien comparison in the trailer is apt, because somebody wanted to make this where Ripley from Alien and then turning her into Ripley from Aliens.
Yeah.
Like there are multiple times where the characters from the first movie become badass crawler killer, like I know what to do.
Yeah, they actually talk about that comparison a lot on the like making of thing where
I bet they do.
Yeah, but it's more about how they were actively trying to like sidestep that. Like they didn't want to go like, how Aliens goes into more action and Marines and all that stuff. They purposely didn't want to do that. They wanted to like maintain the atmosphere of the first film.
I don't feel like that they were successful.
They didn't want to have a little girl?
I think they were, because like, I mean, if it was Aliens, then they'd be like, we're going down there with rocket launchers and whatever, like we're gonna go fuck up those crawlers.
I guess the scares every single time was it like this. The scare was the exact same scare every time, where it was just wah.
Well, I mean, I don't know, that it wasn't always like that, but there was a point in this movie where I was like, all right, I'm starting to formulate my like, well, this movie isn't nearly as claustrophobic as the first film.
Yeah.
But then there's like a few things that happen that I was like, okay, yeah, this is pretty claustrophobic. You're right.
Are you talking about my favorite thing that happens in this movie?
He probably is.
Maybe you're talking about the one where the girl is trapped by herself.
Yep. Where she's trapped by herself, and one of the crawlers gets through, and there's a little cave in, and his head is just little tiny squished by a rock, just kind of settling, and it just and they just hold on it like it's just like he has a Jello skull.
What I liked about that part is, I mean, yeah, that was one of the things they said they wanted to focus on. They never got to do a situation where the crawlers were like attacking you in like a really tight space in the first movie. But what I thought was funny about this is that they spend the whole time being like, she's like, I'm trapped in this place. I can't get out of it. Someone's got to come get me. And then it turns out like 10 minutes later, like, oh, well, if you would have just like tried really hard, you could have got out the top without any issue, apparently. As soon as she's starting to get like, the dogs at the things, crawlers.
Well, abandoning the stuff is always a big step in this kind of thing, too.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I was going to make a 127 hours joke, but that actually happened a year after this movie. So,
yes,
good on them.
I thought you guys were going to talk about the like this savage Neanderthal creature crawler society is organized enough to have a designated shithole.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, that's a great transition because it's going to bring up our sponsor for this evening, shitpit.com. Have you ever been trying to go to the bathroom in your small regular toilet sounding like this? It's the hole's not big enough. Shitpit.com's got you covered. They'll come out to your house anytime you want, dig a hole. Shitpit.com.
A gaping cavern for your waste.
That's right.
Big enough for at least 2 grown women.
When they first fell in that that puddle, I was like, oh yeah, that's a toilet puddle. And then they go on to confirm it in great detail.
Yeah. Well, and I love this could also just after that and her getting out ish, maybe you could have there could just be a 28 Days Later prequel of all of the pathogens that could come out of that shit pit.
I feel like
closed off ecosystem in the bottom of a cave.
Yeah, I feel like the shit pit makes sense though. Like,
Oh, totally. Like you have limited space in a cave. Yeah. Like it's just like
they're not gonna just want to
common sense survival. Right? It's Darwinism to be like, no, like we found a real deep hole. Like go do that over there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We got a bone pit. We got to eat on the bones, but like we can't get the feces in with the bones. We got to come over in the shit pit.
Yeah, the other very scary claustrophobic moment is when Sarah's just like, hey, we gotta go this way underwater. And I was like, fuck no, I'm not going where you can't see the exit. You might just be going down there to die. I mean, you're probably gonna die anyways, but very scary moment. I didn't like that. So who else was mad that big old sheriff guy survived as long as he did?
Me, I wanted him to die immediately.
I thought for sure he was going to die so fast.
At least when he used the gun and ruined everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Instead, he continues to ruin things throughout the movie, and he's like...
when he handcuffed himself, I was like, are you effing kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, what? Like, she obviously at that point is not guilty of whatever the heck he thinks.
I know. It's so stupid.
So, is there a critique of this movie where it is actually like him surviving as long as he does is the point, and that this is an anti-patriarchy movie where women can only succeed on the corpses of other women, and even then some dude's going to be hanging out with a shovel to take you out. Like,
that's right.
I feel like that you could approach this movie in that way and make a pretty solid point.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, you think that the all male writers and directors and everything were making that point?
I think that it might be a artificial world that they built that might just hold up to that critique very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of like it shows that like even though the first movie was praised for being this all female cast and everything, it's like they still didn't really have any women like in the room. They were just kind of like, would be cool changing everybody to a woman and just making all of them women and doing the same movie that we were planning, and that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Which like, okay, yeah, maybe, but then like when you continue the story, it's sort of like it brings to light that it didn't really, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, like it didn't. Yeah, it brings to light that the first movie wasn't actually really saying anything about them being all women.
Right.
It just did it to do it.
Yeah, it just was all women. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And speaking of the, all women cast of the first film, they do return all of them or most of them at some point. There is a fun fact. There is a part in the film where they find eventually that camcorder that they're using a lot in the first movie to kind of like look through the night vision, and they rewind it back and watch a bunch of like clips of them back at the cabin or when they were first getting in the car, and all that stuff was actually new footage. I thought it was like deleted scenes or something.
Oh, interesting.
But it was all new footage that like actually was shot by Neil Marshall. Shot the stuff for the camcorder new for the sequel, even though he was just a producer on the film.
That's really interesting. I can't believe they got everybody back together for that. That's expensive.
Yeah, pretty cool. And there's one cast member that returns in even bigger fashion.
Neil already let that cat out of the bag.
I know. Well, we haven't really.
It's Cave Raider Juno.
Cave Raider
He's wearing
Juno.
shorts now.
Oh! She recovered enough from the giant gaping hole in her leg to run around a cave.
Well, as we have seen throughout every scene in this movie, his skin's real durable. It can take a lot of punishment.
Yeah. When she showed up, I was surprised, but then also started to get a little upset because I thought that it seemed like the movie was starting to turn and make it seem like Sarah was the bad person for having left her, and then it was going to be all about Juno getting back at her for leaving her. And it didn't really end up being that in the end, but for a while I was like, don't go that way. No.
But doesn't that your palate from the taste that you started to get from that isn't cleansed because it's really not about anything.
Yeah, I guess not. But I did once they get to the end, I did like that. I guess maybe enough had happened to Sarah or whatever that at some point, instead of just being like mad at Juno, she actually wanted to try to save her.
Yeah.
And I liked that it was kind of this thing where it's like, all right, you were in the first movie, she was so upset with her in that moment that she was like, fuck you, I'm leaving you here. But to now, like, you've gone through this traumatic experience, you'd think like at that point you might want to try to save the one person who you might be able to like relate to from this like crazy moment and just be over everything that happened. And I did like that moment. Like I enjoy that we get to have the closure more that the first film doesn't give us, I guess.
Yeah, and in this one they straight up say it. She's like, yeah, she had an affair with my husband or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like Sarah even says, and honestly, like that would have been fine if it weren't for all of the cave stuff. You know? Like, she's like, I would have completely forgiven her for the affair, but like she brought us into this freaking cave and killed our friend. You know, like,
she made me kill her, actually. So it was interesting bringing her back. I wasn't really expecting Juno to come back. I hadn't seen.
No, it was pretty wild.
Yeah, I had seen that Shauna McDonald was back for this one, but that was a fun surprise for me.
I mean, as far as sequel sins that we call out a lot of movies for, this movie does a lot of things right.
Yeah,
Sure.
I actually think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Except for a few things that piss me off, but otherwise, I think the movie's pretty good. The other thing that I really liked that was super fucked up is like actually the first death in the movie, the like lead cave guy. I love how they had set this up where like Rios kind of somehow goes off with Sarah, but they're still kind of in the same room, and Sarah has like shushed her and like kind of like transferred over the information that the crawlers can hear you. They have that's how they track you, and they have to like sit there quietly while that dude just gets killed, and they can't even do anything. And I thought that was really messed up. And a great way to like stage that first death.
Yeah, but you got to do what you got to do, and some other way, guys.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like this movie loses a little bit of the Lovecraftian thing. I feel like that the thing that makes The Descent work so well and the setting work so well is just seeing anything alive down there is scary. And so there's a slow burn that's inherent to the first one that isn't there on this one. However, I think that there are some really clever set pieces. There's some really clever things that bring that kind of same, that still do a lot of fun stuff with the setting. I just think that so much of why people love the first one is already out the door.
Yeah.
By just knowing that there's monsters down.
I mean, yeah, you can't put that genie back in the bottle.
Yep.
It's like,
right.
everyone
And
knows.
like I mean, maybe it would have been too stereotypical, but I feel like if you're gonna go back to the cave, and even though it's only been a few days, you gotta show something about the monsters that ups the ante, other than just like the shit pit and like
And
there's a
big-
handful.
there
of
was one-
There was a specific lady one who had a bit of a rat face.
But she already
That's it.
existed
but
in the
I
first
feel like
film.
they gotta find like the king monster, or like
Well, they
I mean, that's the aliens thing. Yep.
or
for
they
sure.
find out that the monster has a skill that they didn't know about before,
Right.
or something, but
Yeah, they do kind of do that. They have that big like Dave Bautista style giant one that comes down at the
Yeah.
end.
I guess I didn't really notice that he was any bigger than any of the
Oh,
others.
the one that like drags down the deer. He's supposed to be like,
Oh, yeah.
and that's the one that like ends up killing Juno at the end. Is this like,
Okay, fair enough. I'm wrong.
Game
But-
crawler.
But yeah, I get it.
I wanted to see like a
It's not
Ewok
like-
cave status.
What,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
what if he did a Donkey Kong style rap to let you know that he was the king of the crawlers?
That would
Yeah.
have been good.
It's not like they were down there and be like, oh shit, there's flying ones now. Yeah.
What if he said, "Oh yeah, they fly now"? Yeah.
They can use doors.
Actually, they had jetpacks in the first movie. Yeah.
But to Elis's point, there could have been a lore thing. This movie is actually trying to say that there's more to these crawlers than, it's just an uncharted cave system and it's a forgotten, species that thrive down there. There's apparently some sort of society and some sort of thing up top that it's protecting them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That the
with-
movie decides to throw in at the end.
This is the
for-
part. This is the
for
part that
laughs.
just made me mad. I was like, "What?
Yeah, I don't
This
like it
makes
either.
no sense." Okay, so at the end of the movie, the one person that gets out is Rios, the deputy.
Who I didn't really like her any more than Sarah or Juno, but I'm like, all right, I guess if only one person has to live, I guess I'm not pissed that it's her, but I would have rather had one of the original women live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
They
she
both sacrificed themselves.
she gets out like in basically the same. It's like the exact same scene as the first one of Sarah getting out. She breaks the ground and comes out, and she's running, and then she stops like after she has made it maybe like, I don't know, 30 feet from the hole or whatever. And I was like, you better run further away. Because in my mind, I remember them saying like, down in the cave, they say like they hunt above ground. So like in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, the crawlers are going to be like above ground now, or one's going to come down from a tree, or I don't know. Something's going to get her while she's trying to make this phone call. But the one thing I would have never, ever guessed
Hillbillies.
is that the old man from the beginning is going to hit her with a shovel and drag her back to the hole. That's not what I would have ever guessed would happen. And I don't think it makes any sense. Like, if he's doing that, why in the beginning of the film would he rescue Sarah and not do the same thing to her? I don't get it. It makes no sense. Dumb ending.
He had I could get, maybe he rescued Sarah to lure more people into the hole as a sacrifice for the crawlers, but he had no way of knowing that those police people were going to make the horrible, stupid decision of making her go back into the cave.
It could also be the point where once he saw somebody escape, that they could then start maybe come out of ground, and so he put her there to keep them happy. It could be possible that he's killing things and leaving them on that killing, that stick trap, that deer. It's possible that he was doing that and feeding them so they don't come up.
Yeah.
It would be a little bit consistent with the Lovecraft stuff of Innsmouth cultists and things like that, but it's so out of left field. It's just so unjustified. I'm doing all of the work to make that happen, and it could be any one of those things, and I don't want to do any of that work.
Yeah, it
doesn't make any fucking sense.
That's your immediate thought, but there's you get no sense throughout the rest of the film that there's any sort of nefarious planning on that.
Yeah, and also these crawlers are so unevolved that I feel like they're pretty useless above the ground, and that especially in 2000 and whatever, humans don't need to be scared of them.
Send Bill Paxton down there with a machine gun and you're fine. Yeah, there is a scene in the elevator where he's sensitive to light. And I'm sure that they think that that's foreshadowing.
Oh, I don't remember that at all. I just remember him winking when they go down.
It's a thing that they do. They sign him with the flashlight, and he's just oh.
But he's that doesn't even make sense because he's
but then
outside.
Later they're they're blind. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I don't know.
It's dumb. He's outside all day in the sunlight, so it makes
also,
no sense.
I feel like that if you're going spelunking, there's better flashlights than big old cop mag lights.
Your light is your life.
5 pounds.
Your light is your life, Tyler. What did I tell you?
Light life. Hashtag light life.
Take point!
Yeah. I took the audio clip of him yelling at Greg.
All right, Greg, take point. Take point!
It is really strange to me. Sorry, there's a ton of sirens tonight.
Yeah. Crawlers are out.
Yeah, the crawlers are out. So these cave rescue squads are federal usually, or they're a specialty firefighter thing, and it's funny to me that they wouldn't have this close of relationship to this local sheriff unless this shit happens all the time. Well,
in the story
implies that it does.
Yeah, it happened just 2 weeks ago. And apparently that dude fucked it up so bad that those people died, or he didn't rescue them in time.
Reporters were taunting him.
Yeah, they're you think you've gotten there quick enough this time? Unlike last week?
You freaking British loser. Get out of our
Get out of our caves.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know. It's just really weird.
And what is your favorite crawler scare in this movie? I think that mine is when one of them gets their head smushed like a pimple by a big old rock.
I think that looked the coolest.
Yeah, that was probably the best one. There's a couple. I liked when they're crawling through that basically tube of a cave, and there's that one in front of them. And they're kind of fuck, what do we do? We have to go. We can't go backwards. We have to go forwards. Cool. The only thing I didn't like is that, Rios screams about the mice, the rat that's in there or whatever. Yeah. And I was kind of after everything you've seen, you're going to scream like that when a mouse is in your face?
Honestly, a rat would be comforting. A rat would be okay.
She's seen so much worse shit up to that point that she's not going to go.
We're still on planet Earth because at some point you'd start to disassociate, be am I actually in hell? Did I die? What's happening?
Yeah, and I hate to be stereotypical, but the question that you asked in the first place, I would take fault with it because the real monsters are the white men, not the crawlers.
Yeah.
So
what they did was much
scarier than what any of the crawlers did.
Let's talk about the best villain kill then, where how many pickaxe swings does it take to get to the center of a white man's wrist?
That was pretty great. He's
the answer is a satisfying amount.
It was so gross, and that I was just the whole time thinking like that would hurt so bad, and it's like it's like the
this
worst
movie has a
possible.
3-minute sequence where somebody just takes pickaxe swings and then they cut to a close-up of it chunking out more flesh as somebody's stuck holding on with a handcuffs around their wrist until their wrist is severed at their hand is severed from the arm at the wrist after like 2 minutes of it being just hacked at, and where he can just fall down Gandalf style with crawlers.
I love the whole time he's like, "Pull me up!" Like,
And I love that Rios
clearly
had
that
to do
window
it
has
too.
closed.
yeah, this is your own dumbass fault, you idiot. Jesus. Although it's two people then that fall down into the abyss, which didn't look. It was not a great effect.
No. They should have got that abyss from that other James Cameron movie.
I did. Yeah. What was that abyss doing? Anything?
Yeah.
Probably not working right now. I did like the one time I thought it was funny that they're trying to kill the crawler with like all these different things, and then Rios is like, my hairpin could probably do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What's the one thing I would have as a girl, I guess, maybe.
That was genuinely funny.
Yeah, it was kind of stupid. Juno, I did like Juno being a badass, and I liked at the end where they're like, all right, we gotta sneak through here real quiet, like, and then somebody falls or something, and they have to kill all these dudes, but they're able to kill them all, and I was kind of like, well, shit, you could have like snuck up on one and took them out, and then probably done a lot better just killing them all.
What did you think about the 10 minutes of the movie where Sarah was trying to kill all of them? And he was like, I was right. She is the murderer.
Yeah. I mean, I would have tried to kill him too, I guess. They were being stupid.
But I just don't know why she ran forwards instead of backwards at that point.
And then there's the whole sequence where they're like, they're watching that aforementioned like high 8, camera footage. And like, I guess it's her getting her memories back. But it's like, oh, my friends are talking shit about me.
What I did like, I just remembered about that moment that like, if this happened to you in real life, would probably make you die of a heart attack. They're watching the movie, and in the video, it's like, oh God, like there's something in here, and they're like watching it, and all of a sudden it gets to that part in the movie where like the crawler is standing behind the girl, and they're like, ah, and then they look up and there's one right next to them, and they're like, ah!
Like he was watching, like, oh,
yeah.
The character knowledge unraveling of that scene is so insane because they're watching all of these familiar beats. Then they get to like the bone pit, which is one of the more chilling scenes from the first movie. And they're like, somebody even says, that's where we are right now. And it's like, wait, you're standing in the bone pit? And you're just like, let's just keep watching this video. There could be more information. And it's like, you're standing in a bone pit. You've already found dead bodies.
Maybe it'll tell us what type of bones they are.
But yeah, it is really funny that it's a double scare where it's just like, oh, that exact same scare from the first movie. And guess what? It's the scare exactly the same again.
Like if you were watching a video and like one of those jump scares happened and then that thing in the video was right next to you in real life.
And then it turns out you're in a video and then somebody else has
and then your head is like,
and you zoom out again.
It just reminds me of the pre-taped Colin show from Mr. Show where David Cross is just like, no, you're calling about last week's episode. And then they do this whole like infinity mirror thing where he turns the screen and it's every week going back in time of everybody calling the wrong thing.
Yeah. That's so great. Yeah, at the end, I kind of liked, even though I guess it didn't, I don't know. I feel like she still could have gotten out, but I did kind of like Sarah's like sacrifice scream and everything.
She's looking real Sarah Connor
because
she does it.
I like that. For her at that point, it's like, what is there worth living for her? I don't know.
I just didn't think that Rios was good enough to really warrant sacrifice.
Yeah. I was kind of, her character was so like uninteresting. I guess she has a kid, like whatever.
Yeah, well,
but
women are good for her.
Yeah, but I kind of, she was such a non-entity that I thought like, oh, maybe Sarah will get back out, but she didn't really. And
yeah, I mean, I do like that the movie tried to say that there was consequences for what she did to Juno, and that they were able to hash that out, and that that there was a restoration of that friendship, and that there's something really interesting about that. There's something that is, her having that sacrifice, them sacrificing for each other, and getting the second chance of kind of being able to reconcile. It's insane, but I like that the movie didn't just choose to completely ignore it. So that's good.
Yeah.
Is it that time?
It might be that time.
Right.
You got a rating?
Yeah, I do. How many pickaxe wrist hacks would you give?
Pickaxe wrist hacks. I'm gonna mess it up when I try to say it.
The Descent Part 2.
Right. I'm gonna give it 4 pickaxe wrist hacks.
Yep.
Is that right? Pickaxe
That's correct.
wrist hacks. Okay, 4 pickaxe wrist hacks. Jeez. All right. That's a tongue twister. Because it was way worse than the first one, but it was still, for a horror movie, like, it was still fine. It had lots of good kills and action and monster stuff, and
They tried. It was not like they didn't phone it in.
yeah. So yeah, 4.
All right. I think I'm gonna give it 6 pickaxe wrist hacks. Is that right? Did I get it?
You did it.
Yeah, I think I was actually surprised how good this was. It feels like a legitimate part 2. I think that there is some good, like emotional payoff and stuff that people might be interested in having after seeing the first film. And I mean, obviously they go back in the cave, but I feel like they don't like fully repeat everything that happens. They do add in some, new situations for the characters, and I think I kind of like how it closes the loop on the story. It's definitely one that, I think if you liked the first one, it's worth checking out for the characters and just to kind of see what happened to them. Whereas some sequels are just like, no, don't tarnish the first film. I think like the fact that a lot of the people that were so heavily involved in the first film are back for this, including, John Harris and Neil Marshall is the producer, and like the set designer is back and everything. I think, and the composer is back as well, even though it sounds like they just basically use the same music from the first movie. I think that, they really tried to keep up the quality. Obviously it's a dip, but I don't think it's as much as a dip as I expected.
I think I'm going to give it 5 pickaxe wrist hacks. I think that I agree with what both of you are saying. I think that it gives me a larger appreciation for the first movie, and that it's not just a kind of low budget. It's not the nastiness, and it's not the efficiency of it. It's not just the setting or the monsters. It takes a lot of discipline to maintain that level of atmosphere, that level of claustrophobia, and this movie loses sight of that a couple times. And as soon as that happens, the illusion's a little bit broken. It's not helped out by kind of shoehorning all our characters back into this cave, but once it's down there, it is trying to come up with set pieces. It is doing a lot of legwork to work in the characters from the first movie, and there is something kind of amazing about just returning back to the scene of the crime of a slasher movie days after it happened, and just walking right back into that meat grinder and having everybody, there, and kind of rediscovering that. And I will say that that's a more, there's some sort of disconnect between her not remembering and her having to go back down there. I wish that there was a different way that got everybody down there and everybody working. That being said, there are some imaginative set pieces here. There are some fun kills. It does honor the first one, and in a real way. Any shortcomings there, I think, are not intentional. We've had worse drop-offs from a 1 and a 2, and I think it deserves a lot of credit.
I mean, I for an instant comparison, I can tell you at the start of the DVD of this movie, there is a trailer for Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever.
Yeah, of
which,
course there
which is also ostensibly a continuation of the first story.
That
which
involves
is-
a police officer.
Which is terrible. So this is like,
Yeah.
Way
leaps
better.
and bounds above that. So
Yep.
there you go.
It really is.
So I think from the ratings, you can tell all of us like the first one better than the second one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you guys want to see part 3 or a Descent Reborn or anything?
I guess I was kind of surprised that there hasn't been another one, because I guess
Yeah, me too.
I guess this sequel, it was in theaters in the UK but didn't do super well, but it did really well on DVD. And usually that's the kind of thing where it's like, all right, time to print more of them. And so I'm a little
Coming
bit
to a streaming
surprised-
service near you, I'm sure.
Yeah. I am a little bit surprised there's not another one. Maybe at this point they would consider a remake or something, but I would watch another one. Yeah, if someone.
How would you like to see this lore expanded? Would you like to explore more about the surface people that have enabled this sect of crawlers to live?
No, you want
undetected? Would you want a Tremors route where they're in a cave in South Africa and there's crawlers there too? Okay.
Or they further evolved and now they
I just want new people to stumble upon it.
So
for different
Journey to the
reasons.
Center of the Earth rules, where they go deeper into the cave.
Yeah, what I would like is a sequel that is also kind of a reboot where they go back down, and the director has, concocted new situations for our characters to be in. And for people that watch the original ones, maybe there's some fun Easter eggs of like them coming across.
What if it's a here's my pitch, is that the whole family is now dead and there was a lot of money left over from all of the debts and insurance that is established as Sarah has a scholarship for college athletes. And they go, well, I want to go spelunk the cave that like,
she died in.
Yeah, she died in.
If they ever even figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what if the cave?
But like that's how you get another young new person in there.
That's right.
I guess.
What if in some sort of freak accident the cave inverts and it's now above ground, and so people are just suddenly inside the cave without even knowing it? I don't know. I feel like we're gonna see another Descent movie in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Everything gets remade or sequelized eventually. This one already did, and I think it'll happen again.
Right.
What if they made a TV
Well-
show? Too much. That'd be too much.
Is it time when we talk about? Well, I guess we talked about this franchise. Do we have any other thoughts overall, or?
I don't think so.
I think it's I think it's totally solid. It's got a classic first entry, and if you're curious to watch the second one, you won't probably be completely
It's not a
disappointed.
total waste of
Yeah.
time.
Nope. It's a nice little twofer.
Yep. Well, should we discuss what's happening next for us, or do we want to talk about how to get in touch with us first?
Do the thing first. Do it.
Okay. Email us at sequelrights@gmail.com with your suggestions for future franchises. And you can find us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars goes a long way for helping us spread our podcast out to a wider audience.
That's right. And we've now done 2 horror franchises in a row. So it's time for us to go in the exact opposite direction.
I don't know, Justin. We're talking about the horrors of alcohol and what your life of drinking might bring upon you.
Yeah, babysitting children, being a coach.
God, I don't remember that part at all. Okay.
Yeah,
But,
it's a bad news bear
we'll
situation.
find out about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are, of course, talking about Pacey's young hockey career.
As part of the Mighty Ducks.
Ducks fly together.
You know what? There is a brand new TV show version of this coming to Disney Plus, and we
Ducks run amok.
thought that's not what it's called. We thought it would be fun to watch that because from the trailer, some of the original people coming back. So we thought it'd be fun to go through the Mighty Ducks, and yeah, we're done with We're done with people getting murdered and blood. Let's just have some fun jokes for kids. And yeah, I guess alcoholism. I don't know. According to Tyler,
Alcoholism.
I don't remember.
knuckleplex.
I don't remember that either.
Yeah. Basically, well, I mean,
Don't tell us. We're about to watch it. God.
Yeah,
it'll be like the first thing that happens in the movie.
we're watching it next week. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, until next time, we'll see you guys for the Mighty Ducks.